Basically, that is the measurement you use throughout the music production process except for mastering. Hi, welcome to another Music Monday episode. Today we're going to look at layering sounds. If you are new here, welcome. If you're an old friend, bienvenido, or Spanish I suppose. Also have a quick look at what pink noise is. On with the episode. We're going to look at a couple of things today. Volume, what's the difference between decibels and LUFS, the difference between white noise and pink noise and why does it actually matter to us, have a quick think about levels and EQ, and then I'll do a demo with a couple of layered sounds, and also you can hear the difference between the white and pink noise. So to start with, volume, decibels versus LUFS. The question that always comes up when people say, oh, should I be using decibels or LUFS to work out my music? Well, decibels is a physical measurement. So it's to do with the frequency and the amplitude of a sound, that sound being the whole sound if it was a music track, and how much pressure that creates on the eardrum. So it's a physical measurement. Basically, that is the measurement you use throughout the music production process except for mastering, the final stage. So most of the time you should be worried about decibels. LUFS, which stands for loudness unit full scale, is used for mastering, and different audio platforms have different requirements for these LUFS values. And the way to think of it is very similar to a decibel, as in it does account for air pressure of sound, but it also specifically adds in something called perceived loudness. That is the fact that we hear higher frequency sounds as being louder, even if technically they are producing the same amount of air pressure on our eardrums. A good example of this is birds tweeting, babies crying. Why you only have one piccolo or triangle in an orchestra and 32 string instruments. You will still hear that triangle or that one piccolo because we perceive the higher frequency sounds as louder. Next, white noise versus pink noise. White noise is that constant shh sort of sound that you hear as static, and that is a constant amplitude of noise. However, pink noise, as you can see in the diagram there, you can either think of it as the lower frequencies have been boosted or the higher frequencies have been lowered to create that curve, that slant. What this represents is to do with how we think about LUFS, because the lower frequencies, if they are perceived by our brains as being quieter, then we should boost those, and we at the same time bring down the higher frequencies. I could do an entire episode on decibels and LUFS and white noise, pink noise, and the others you can look them up online. Brown noise, red noise, loads of different ones that people have come up with for different adjustments of this scale. So what can we do about it? Well, what's in our power as musicians to do this? And basically there's two main things. The level, so think of your standard level meters in a DAW or on an actual real mixing console. We can turn different tracks up and down. That's one thing we have at our disposal. So if we've got high flutes against low strings, we can turn those flutes down so that they are perceived at a similar level of loudness. And the other thing is EQ. If there is a particular frequency that an instrument is sounding in, we can lower or raise that part of the spectrum. That's what we're going to have a look at in the demo. Let's jump over to Logic. Welcome to the Logic session. So we're going to think about layering sounds in a second, but I thought the first useful thing to be doing would be to show you the difference between white and pink noise. So I've got a test oscillator here. White noise sounds like this, and pink noise sounds like this. Now, if we look at that on an EQ meter, hopefully you perceived pink noise with more low end. The white noise is actually very flat. So we turn that on again and watch the output in the EQ. Okay, it is a similar amplitude across all frequencies, low and high, but if you are listening to that critically, you should probably hear that the higher frequencies are perceived louder, even though you can see that they're the same amplitude. If we go to pink noise and listen to that and look at the EQ, you can see that the higher frequencies were at a lower amplitude, but it actually sounds quite balanced. So that's the difference between white and pink noise. And why should we care? Well, it's because when we're layering sounds, we need to remember those high sounds will be perceived by the listener as louder. So maybe we need to turn them down or use some EQ. I'll give you an example. I've got this set up here, and what we will do is we'll have a level meter so that we can see the peak values. This is in stereo, so you'll see left and right peaks. So if we just listen to the low strings, we're around minus 12, 11. We listen to the high woodwinds on their own. They are a similar peak value, but you should perceive those as louder. If we play them both together, the woodwinds, in terms of balance, should sound louder to you. So our actual peak value has gone up because we have more sounds combined, but those woodwinds should sound higher. Now, I wouldn't normally have a level meter up. It's just easier for you to see instead of having to try and zoom in on this. So in a practical point of view, I would look at the level meters in the mixer while creating a cue. But in this case, for example, I've got low strings, high woodwinds. If I want a balanced sound, thinking about that pink noise shape, I know that the woodwinds should come down in level. So that is one of the options that we have, is to reduce the volume of the woodwinds. Okay, that is one of our tools. The other tool I mentioned, let's put that back to 0, is that we could use some EQ. Now, here's an example. With these low strings, I could take off the whole load of the top end. If I turn that on now, you get a very muffled sound because there are no high frequencies poking through. We can do the opposite with the high woodwinds. If we turn this on, we will cut out all the low frequencies from the woodwinds. So initially they sounded like this, with EQ cutting off the low end. Less difference. Okay, so I have EQ on the high woodwinds, I have EQ on the low strings. Let's play them both and look at the level meter. So we were getting up to -10 there. Now turn the EQs off again. And notice that hasn't made a massive amount of difference. And the reason for that is our EQ is not affecting the majority of that particular sound. So for the low strings, we are taking off all the top end, but you can see the majority of the sound is down here. If I was trying to reduce the volume, I would want to look at a frequency that I could cut out of the low strings. So if we play them again with the low frequency, this what's that, about 90 dB. Let's play that and have a look at the peaks. So that's starting to bring that down a bit. Again, with the high woodwinds, we could cut out a section of the frequency that they are playing in. And then if we play them together, so this time we've used EQ to cut out some of the sound. I've left the volumes at 0, but in this case I would balance that so that the woodwinds were now lower in volume as well. And you see our peaks there, -11. So as you go through and mix different tracks, keep in mind that pink noise shape, and that higher frequency instruments will be perceived by the brain as louder when you play them back. There you go. That's today's demo. Thanks as always for watching. Like and subscribe is always appreciated, and I'll see you next week for another Music Monday. Bye for now.